Yeah, I think regardless of who I played, I think I had a good shot to win, and I definitely had that belief. And
The coach of Coco Gauff speaks out about her contentious altercation with Eala. Yes, the story starts precisely at the title you clicked. Tension between two of the fastest rising talents in tennis was not anticipated by the tennis community. A world-class coach who hardly ever talks in public is forced to eventually come out of the shadows and correct the record due to this kind of tension. The incident involving Alex Eala and Coco Gauff did not remain on the court. And all the details that have been hidden are revealed now. And once you hear what happened behind that closed practice court, you'll understand why the WTA is buzzing. Stay tuned because the encounter didn't even occur during the game. It was before to it. Nobody anticipated the golf team's response. I just wanted to say how much I appreciate your support. The atmosphere has been absolutely wonderful over the last few days. It didn't start during the game. A detail that would eventually become the focus of every tennis blog, fan conversation, and expert argument started during warm-up. Coco Gauff entered the practice court with the calm she's known for. With the fire she earned, Alex Eala walked in. Although they had previously crossed paths on junior circuits, the two players had been rising quickly in 2025 and had never faced off in a situation with such high stakes. Nobody was prepared for the hostility that progressively simmered between the two, even though their upcoming encounter at the Pan American Classic had already attracted notice. When Eala started hitting her warm-up shots with a level of ferocity often reserved for match play, observers noticed the energy changed. She whistled past Gauff's baseline with a strong, fearless, and unapologetically sharp forehand. She was sending a message, according to some. Some said she was just confined. However, one person was not pleased with what he observed. Coco's coach. He could see from a distance that he was folding his arms and observing Eala with a chess player's attitude as he realized his opponent was prepared to sacrifice her queen on the opening move. Coco's posture clearly shifted as he murmured something to her. Her smile faded. She ceased her conversation. She shut herself in. Later, supporters repeatedly replayed that change. The minute I realized something was different and the moment the match's tone was established. Then things got worse. A contentious warm-up serve. Coco's foot was supposedly clipped by a ball. Eala gave a look that was captured on tape but never completely explained. Suddenly, all of the reporters in the arena realized that this would not be your typical contest. However, Coco's coach had to intervene because of what transpired during the first set. As a witness, not as a tactician. Coco's coach looked at the umpire as the players moved toward the baseline to begin the game. A term that conveyed everything instead of a single word. It's going to become messy. And it did. There was a storm in the first set. It's between players and their feelings, not between them and the ball. Eala's constant violence. Coco's steadfast defense. Each point seemed to make a message. Every rally was intimate. The breaking point was approaching, although no one was aware of it yet. And when it happened, Coco's coach would have to speak up for the first time. The altercation did not occur amid a heated argument, a medical timeout, or a contentious call. It took place during a rally that was so amazing that spectators in the front row were out of breath. Aya's forehand cut the sideline like a blade halfway through the second set when the score was knotted at 33. After pursuing it, Coco returned it with a backhand that caught Aya's shoelace. Or so Aya asserted. Aya abruptly halted the point, held up her hand, and insisted that it be repeated. The contact was missed by the umpire. The collision was not felt by Gauff. The audience was divided. Additionally, Coco's coach moved closer to the court and fixed his intense gaze on Aya. The arena was shocked by what Aya did next. She approached the umpire and pointed to the precise location where she thought the ball hit her. Supporters started whispering. The camera shutters sounded. A tennis moment was evolving into an incident. Coco folded her arms. She had a distinct expression. This is not what we're doing. It was also evident in Eala's expression. Indeed, we are. A few seconds went by. The umpire then declared, "Point stays." Not a replay. At that moment, Aya whispered something to herself. Microphones missed this line, but Coco clearly did. Her head jerked up. Her coach moved forward one step. The umpire tensed, too. Sharp, firm, unfiltered, was Coco's response. Supporters leaned in. The drama erupted. For 3 seconds, commentators were silent. The kind of silence that only happens when everyone knows something big just happened. Shaking her head, Eala made her way back to the baseline. Coco glared straight ahead while bouncing the ball 5 times. The energy never returned as the action resumed. Every rally turned into an altercation. Each victor turned into a message. Each failure served as fuel. Additionally, Coco did not rejoice when the set was sealed. She didn't grin. She went directly to her bench. After that, her coach put a hand on her shoulder for the first time. However, his remarks during that transition would serve as the impetus for the subsequent scandal. What he whispered was supposed to stay private. It didn't. A courtside microphone recorded bits of people who didn't react. Concentrate. You're taking the lead while she's attempting. Keep your distance from her. Within minutes, videos of that moment became viral. Supporters argued over whether the coach was accusing Eala of unethical behavior. Eala was just battling hard, according to those who stood up for her. However, nobody understood the coach's true intentions. Not quite yet. Because he eventually spoke up following the game, the controversy, and the handshake that was icy as the steel roof above them. Even before he entered, the press room was humming. The podium was already the focus of cameras. Journalists were prepared with their inquiries. Coco was anticipated by all. Nobody anticipated her coach. The atmosphere changed as soon as he entered the room sans Coco. This was not typical. He cleared his voice, adjusted the microphone, and uttered the words that would make headlines for the following 48 hours. I'm here to provide clarification on a few points. Quiet. He went on. Coco didn't provoke anything. She didn't provoke anyone or treat them disrespectfully. Today's events were the consequence of miscommunication, pressure, and intensity. Nothing more. However, the portion that went viral wasn't that. When a reporter asked, "Do you believe Eala crossed a line today?" it became viral. The coach paused, looked down, took a breath, and then, "Yes, today emotions got the better of her." That 14-word statement went viral on social media. It was a topic of constant controversy among fans. The honesty was applauded by some. Others claimed that he made things worse. Filipino supporters vigorously defended Eala. American supporters vigorously defended Coco. The coach wasn't finished, though. With a calm voice, he leaned forward. No, the ball incident did not come into contact with Coco. We looked over the video. She was fair in her play. She is always equitable. A straightforward refutation of Eala's assertion. The room's pressure increased. The coach then said one last thing. The one that stunned everyone. I admire Eala, but you can't scare Coco. Clips from the news conference went viral in a matter of minutes. 2 groups of fans emerged. Every word was examined by analysts. In locker rooms, players whispered. Coaches debated whether he broke unwritten tour etiquette. And Eala, she stayed silent for 24 hours. Then she answered with something much more potent than words. Eala claps back on the court, where it counts most, rather than during interviews. Eala went to court 3 for her practice session the following morning. Not for the media, not for conflict, but for labor. However, the cameras were ready. She made a statement with each shot. A point was made with each run to the net. I'll respond in my way, was the sound of each heavy sigh. Her coach spoke to her in a quiet voice. Eala's eyes remained razor-keen, but observers noted that his tone was soothing, anchoring, and telling her to breathe. Alex, any comment on Coco's coach? A reporter asked midway through the practice. Eala didn't stop walking, didn't turn, and didn't acknowledge until she did. I'll let my tennis do the talking, she declared after finishing her rally and raising her racket. The most popular video of the week was that particular clip. However, it wasn't until the following match that she truly responded. She was expected to lose the quarterfinal. Rather, she defeated her opponent with strength, accuracy, and a controlled rage that pundits refer to as a statement win. Each victory she achieved felt like a refutation. It felt like proof with each fist pump. Every look she gave the audience felt like a message to anyone who didn't trust her. She finally talked after winning. Just one sentence. "I put a lot of effort into my competition, but I always do it with respect. No accusations, no names, no escalation." However, the message was unambiguous. The fight with Gauff was over. Noise was the controversy. Whether she liked it or not, the rivalry had officially started. It was dubbed the quiet rivalry by fans. A competition based on pride, pressure, and unbridled ambition rather than yelling. And an unforeseen turn of events occurred when both factions cooled. One that no one anticipated, not even the WTA. However, Coco Gauff's statement wasn't the most bizarre aspect of the whole story. It was what she refrained from saying. For nearly 48 hours, while the tennis world spiraled into arguments, theories, and accusations, Coco remained completely silent. No tweet, no explanation from the interview, no declaration to put out the fire that was consuming the story. And in the world of women's tennis, silence is rarely absence. It's a message. Fans began analyzing every angle. Why did Coco not address the controversy? If the altercation was really just the heat of the moment, why wasn't she standing up for Eala? Why didn't her coach intervene sooner? More noise was produced by the silence than by words. "Her silence seems louder than the argument itself," a fan commented. There was undoubtedly an event. "Athletes stay silent when they know the backlash will hit harder if they speak," another contended. The third wave then arrived. Tension increased as pundits, retired coaches, analysts, and former pros started to weigh in. Someone remarked, "When a coach steps up before a player does, it usually means the team is trying to contain something." Yet another, "If Coco isn't speaking, there's internal disagreement about what really happened." All of a sudden, the conflict was no longer the subject of the controversy. It had to do with what was being concealed or shielded, as well as the significance of quiet. Additionally, Eala felt that the silence was more painful than the actual conflict. She was left hanging, puzzled, and ashamed, according to those close to her. Because the story engulfs the smaller star when the larger one remains silent. Reporters are also aware of the change. The tone of their inquiries shifts, and their headlines become more pointed. Why won't Coco talk about what happened? Is there conflict going on behind the scenes? What actually transpired between Gauff and Eala? And as the days passed, the quiet turned into a storm unto itself. Everyone had to read between the lines, between devotion and damage management, between strategy and truth, between protecting a rising star and shielding a superstar, under a quiet but oppressive strain. Because often the most potent disputes aren't sparked by strong language, but rather by statements that no one is willing to make. Everything changed when Coco finally spoke, not at a press conference or in a well-written statement, but through her performance on the court. She entered a practice session with distinct energy, forceful motions, and keen gaze. Reporters observing from courtside could quickly discern that this Coco was someone with something to prove, not the same person who had departed the arena 2 days prior. Eala trained with her own attention on the internet. Distractions, online comments, and public sentiment are all absent. There is an indisputable tension between the two players and their two paths. And it became evident that this would not go away lightly. This marked the beginning or resurgence of a rivalry. It was felt by commentators. Fans sensed it. Players even discussed it in whispers. Because something is irreversibly altered when two young stars clash during a time of pride, insecurity, and high-stakes pressure. Moments like this, they stay with a player for years, a coach remarked in private. Rivalries don't always start with finals, said another commentator. Sometimes miscommunications are the starting point. Everyone in attendance was aware that Coco Gauff versus Eala was no longer merely a tennis match. It was American fire versus Filipino tenacity, fury versus heart, and personality versus ambition. At the same time, two athletes stand up and refuse to back down, refusing to appear smaller than one another. What the fight produced, the silence deepened, and the fallout solidified was a rivalry characterized by pride rather than points. The WTA was not prepared for this rivalry, but it is now unavoidable. One thing is certain, regardless of whether they cross paths in the upcoming competition or 3 months from now, whether the tension subsides or bursts. Every handshake, point, and look between Coco Gauff and Eala from this point on tells a tale. There can no longer be a rivalry. It is unavoidable. The camp of Coco Gauff stood up for her. Eala responded with a performance. And what started out as a tense moment became the impetus for a fresh rivalry. A rivalry based on skill, passion, and two athletes who refuse to be eclipsed. One thing is certain, regardless of your stance on Coco or Eala, this rivalry has only barely begun. Make sure you like, subscribe, and click the bell symbol to ensure you don't miss the next installment if you want more in-depth drama, behind-the-scenes tension, and unseen tennis stories the media never broadcasts. Because I promise that the next confrontation between Gauff and Eala will be considerably more intense.